Hey, I'm Gabby,
Hi, I'm Laura.
and this is
A Little This,
A Little That.
a podcast where we talk about
A Little This.
and a little that. Okay.
Episode 2.
Episode 2.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. Little life. Want to do like a little update?
Okay, yeah, good.
School's back in session, and it has been a whirlwind.
Yeah, it's, at the time of this filming, it's the end of August.
Yes.
And literally, it happened like that.
Yes. So, we've been trying to get today. It really worked out. We've had time to film today, but August has been crazy. School's back in session. It's a 3-day weekend, and I'm very happy about that.
Yes, we are celebrating by doing this, hanging out, relaxing, and just kind of chit-chatting. So, life update. We're tired, but happy to be here.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, we're just going to dive right in. We'll kind of rope this. Okay, the topic of today.
Okay, I see where you're going with
Okay.
this. Yes.
Last week, we, along with our friend Amanda, went to San Jose to see Drew and Dason do a live show.
Like their podcast went on tour. She has a book, so they kind of like put the book tour with the podcast with her and her sister. They did it together and they did it live.
And
we went. We went. We've had these tickets for a while, and we went, and it was super fun.
Yeah, it was super chill, so fun. And then they did a Q&A. And at first, I didn't have a question. But then in the middle of the Q&A, I had a question, but I wasn't able to get called on. So
it was a really good question.
The question is for us because it applies to us. So
Yes.
Just like Drew and Dason, we are also a Virgo and a Cancer sister duo.
Mm-hmm,
and so the question I was going to ask is, what is your favorite Virgo trait about, each other, or like
the other person.
The other person,
Yeah.
and what is your least favorite Virgo or Cancer trait about the other person?
Yeah.
So we're just going to kind of pick that apart.
Yeah.
So
if you couldn't tell already, I don't know if you can tell. Like, if you're the type of person that can tell what a sign is, like, that's a skill because I don't have that yet. But I am a Virgo.
And I am a Cancer. But, okay, so here's our chart. And I'll tell you their chart because Gabby never remembers. Okay. Gabby is a Virgo sun, Capricorn moon, Pisces rising. I am a Cancer sun, Capricorn moon, Virgo rising.
Okay.
So we have a lot of like compatibility, like charts aligning, and I think that's why like we get along. Everyone always asks us like, how do you guys get along? Like
the stars.
Seriously, the stars. The stars aligned for us. So I think like, I don't know, in like a very like, mushy way, like I do feel like you are like my soul mate, like my soul sister.
Yes.
On top of being like my biological sister.
Right.
But I do think that like that makes a difference.
That's a huge like compatibility factor, especially for sisters, I think, because there's so many ways that we could get on each other's nerves, and we do.
Oh,
and we'll
100%.
talk about that. I'm sure we'll get into it. But like the fact that there's so many like aligning compatibilities, I think is really
I think
helpful.
And I think it helps us like understand each other a lot like easier.
Yeah.
Rather than like, oh, like I just don't get why she does that, or I just don't understand that. Like most of the time I'm like, okay, like I get that. Okay, whatever.
Yeah. Like to a certain extent, you're just like, okay, like I see what's happening here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
we're just gonna go off of the sun signs, like all of the other stuff.
Like I mean, I may dive a little bit because I'm like a little bit more.
She knows
versed.
that stuff, and like when she talks about it, it's really interesting to me, and I love hearing and talking about it. But I think for this, like
we're gonna try to keep it like
just for the basic signs.
Basic stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. My least favorite Virgo. We'll start with the least.
Yeah. Okay. We'll end on it.
Happy note. Yeah, all talking shit. Okay.
The whole thing. We'll like, just get into it.
You know what? Actually,
I've been holding on to this
now
for a
that
while.
I think about it, you're so no. Okay. Okay. My least favorite Virgo trait about you. I think. Oh, it's you thinking that you're right about it. Like it's you like thinking like, no, this is the right way. Like no, don't like literally we were just watching home videos and Gabby literally was telling our dad trying to like she was like no, don't do it that way.
Because it's really weird because I feel in my soul and in my body, like I see the path and I'm like, this is the way to do it. I've taken into consideration all of the obstacles and this is the way to do it. And when someone decides to do it, like even the most infuriating thing is when they decide to do it, but even like a little like it's almost the same, but just a little bit different. I'm like, no, but I get it. I really do.
And I feel like the reason why I know that's the most annoying trait of Gabby's is because, again, I have a Virgo rising. Mm-hmm. And so there are definitely times where I'm like, it needs, so like, I understand, like, again, I understand. I'm like,
because you can tell when you do that to other people or when you do that to certain situations.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, you're gonna do it this way. So I think that's my most, like,
because it comes out pretty consistently.
Well, and then like you're my older sister. There's definitely been times where I do things and you're like, I don't know. And I'm like, shut up. I'm like, shut up. Like, I'm going to do it. Just like, let me do it. Yeah. And I feel like we've had arguments and like pivotal moments of our lives where I've told you, like, you just have to trust that I know what I'm doing.
Yeah. Like, and that was really hard for me to swallow because I was just like, I do trust you. Like, I'm just helping you. I'm helping. But that's
I'm like, helping you do it my way.
Yeah. I'm helping you. Like, in my mind, I was like, I'm guiding you to see the right way. And the right way is my way. So when we've had conversations where she's like, just trust that I know what I'm doing, I really had to listen to her and be like, okay, she's basically telling me, let her do what she needs to do. Mm-hmm. And, you know, whatever happens, like, I will still be there. Yeah. But like, that was like a huge growing pain.
And it's like not your responsibility if it doesn't turn out the way like you think it should turn out. Like, if I do it my way, you just need to like and just say like, okay, I don't have, like, it's not your responsibility to work about that. So yeah, I think that's the biggest one for like my most. Yeah. What did I say? My most like the
least favorite.
Least favorite. That's my least favorite thing about Gabby being a Virgo.
Yeah.
Okay. What's your least favorite thing about me as a Cancer?
I think like I don't know how to phrase it into like a perfect sentence. Okay. But it's how she, like, you're obviously very in tune with your emotions, but because she is so in tune with her emotions, like, she can like highlight them every step of the way. And like, when you do that, I'm just like, oh my God, like, you need to stop doing that because I feel like it like halts progression. And so when you're just like, you're like, okay, but I'm going to feel like this. But then if I do that, I'm going to feel like this. And then I feel like this right now. And I'm like, oh, and I think we were on a Disney trip.
Psychosis.
Yeah. We were on a Disney trip when I really, really like realized that. And I remember being like, you're moody. Oh, like, her moods went up and down. And like, I really realized at that moment, like, it had nothing to do with me. Cause I think for a long time I was just like, oh my gosh, like, let me help. Like, let me try to fix this. But like, she was really just like really happy at 1 second. And like, I'm tired and I need to feel tired right now. And I'm tired and I need to let everyone know I'm tired. And I'm like, okay. And then like, we would wait for a little bit and then she'd be like, okay, I'm over it. Like, I'm ready to go. Like, let's move. And I'm like, oh God, are we sure? Like, what's happening?
Yeah.
So like, all of that put together, I don't know how I could say it, but just like, you're so like, in tune with your emotions.
And like moodiness, like general moodiness. Yeah. That, and like, as a Cancer, like, I know that. And everyone who's like close to me and dear to me and who knows me knows that I'm moody. And it's just like, okay. But I will say, I figured out how to let you know I'm moody without like biting, like snap. Like, I think when I was younger, I was very snappy and I was very like, you know, I'm in a
like
mood.
You didn't know where to place it. And it was like, everything is
awful.
Yes.
Pop punk saved me.
No, 182.
Yeah, freaking Taking Back Sunday, Hawthorne Heights. You know, they just really got me. But I think now, as a fully, you know, frontal cortex developed into my 30s,
the frontal lobe is there.
I can say I'm in a mood. I need to be alone.
Yeah, like, leave me alone.
Leave me alone, like, please. Okay, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Honestly, I feel like it's probably my most trait that I get annoyed with myself too. I'm like, shut up, Laura.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Favorite trait about you?
My
crickets.
I know. We're gonna be here for a while.
We'll be right back.
That beep.
Yeah. We'll put it up there. Yep. My favorite trait about you, I think, I don't know. I think for you as a Virgo, well, one, I always tell you how smart you are. I literally tell Gabby, I'm always like, your masterful brain, because she has a master's degree. So I'm always like, oh my God, Gabby, your masterful brain. I've always known Gabby is smarter than me. And I don't think it's because I'm stupid. I just know that Gabby's smarter than me. So I think I think that's a great trait of yours. And not just because it's you're book smart. It's I think you use your logic in a way that's hey, wait a minute, let's think about this.
Yeah.
Let's think it through, and let's not let's not be too hasty. Still, I think he's rather tasty.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I think that that trait is one of my favorites about you is that because you're able to just I said okay, let's just take a moment.
Yeah.
And I also think too that you're able to you don't okay. This is I'm gonna go back to this is a trait of yours as a Virgo, but I also think
it's a love-hate thing. Because when you say one thing, you're I really like that, but then on the other side, because we know each other so well, you've seen the backside of it.
When it gets too imbalanced.
Yeah.
And I'm okay, stop thinking that way, please. I was gonna say too that as a Virgo, and if you're a Virgo, I love you. I obviously love my sister, and I'm a Virgo, so I get it. You're judgmental at times.
Oh yeah,
you can be judgmental, but you know what? Unlike my emotional being, you're just whatever.
Yeah,
you can be oh no, but you'll let it go.
Yeah,
you can let it go. You may be judgmental on things. You judgment the action, not the person.
That's a really good way to put it.
Yeah, and I think that's really admirable because sometimes we'll hear, the cheeseman about people and you're oh no. Yeah. But you don't go they're a horrible person. You're just whoa, what a bad choice. Yeah. Yeah. And so you judge the action, not the person.
Yeah.
And I think
that's a really good way of putting it. Because I don't mean, and I seriously don't mean to be judgmental. It just because I think it goes back to that analytical thing. I analyze it and I'm why would they make such a move? Yeah, that makes no sense.
And that's what I mean by you judge the action. You're not saying you analyze it pretty quickly and you're that's a dumb mistake to do, or that's something that's maybe not the smartest.
Yes.
And so that's where the judgment comes in. But you never judge the person. You never, unless you never judge the person, I feel unless it's with me. Because I've told you things about people and you're just no, that's a bad,
because that's where I feel safe. And then I think that's that. I think that's the reason sometimes why Virgos can be analytical, because it gives us a safe distance to be hey, that was a wrong choice. I wouldn't make that. And so I'm over here. But secretly, I'm just thinking in my head, okay, that's not something that I would do. Write that down.
Yeah. You're make sure not to do that.
Yeah. So, because it keeps people at a safe distance, so that way, smaller, the smaller circle within my circle, essentially, we'll get to know why I believe that, and then that's where the
understanding comes from.
Yeah. Because on the offset, I'm sure it can be for some people to hear maybe what I have to say about a certain action. Someone might think, oh my gosh, that was a really quick judgment. My goodness. Boom. Yeah. That was harsh. But in the reality, it's more of it's a little bit deeper than that. And only the closest people get to know me know that. Yeah.
And I have another good friend who's a Virgo as well. And like there's definitely been times where I needed to hear that harsh judgment about people in my life who were like affecting me.
Yeah.
And you've done that too, where I've like, hey, this person, you know, is causing this like, you know, frustration or heartache with me. And like the Virgos in my life have been like, that's BS. Like that's BS. You don't owe them.
Like
you
we're
don't
cutting
owe them
the fat. Like there's no sparkle about this.
Yeah,
like.
there's no like emotion. Like they're doing bad things. Period.
Yeah.
Leave it. Go away. And so
Yeah.
I definitely needed to hear that, like those firm judgments. Truly.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
that's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, for you, I mean, like, obviously there's a lot of things that I love about you,
Mm-hmm.
but like for the Cancer, like, I think you're very smart, and I think you're very smart, highly, like, more than me about like emotions. And
Mm-hmm.
like that's the double-edged kind of sword that I was kind of talking about, because like your emotions you can feel them so well, but you also understand them very well.
Mm-hmm.
So then like I've learned so much from Laura about like how someone could be feeling, how you are feeling, how like this emotion goes deeper than just like the surface. Because essentially what we just talked about, like it's very easy for me to just be like, oh, that action means that they are this and that, and like that's it. Like put a stamp on it, mail it, it's done.
Yeah.
But like for you, you've honestly really taught me a little bit about like, hey, Gabby, like it could also be this or this, or like they could, and I'm like, oh my God, like it's like you really put like a 3-dimensional like aspect on like a certain action or a certain emotion. And I'm like, damn, like that's real. Like holy
humanize
shit.
them.
Yeah.
Because they have feelings.
No, like essentially, but even like deeper than that, like it's really like a full, like robust, thorough, thought out, like this is what like you are feeling. And like sometimes when you are going through your emotions, or you're going through like a situation in your life where I'm trying to help you, sometimes I'm just listening to you think through it. And I'm like, damn, she's like going there. She's hitting all of it, because like you're able to like really be in touch with them.
Yeah. And I feel like that is one thing, like as a Cancer, I can identify my emotions very quickly. Like, so I have like my moodiness, but when I'm actually like in my emotions, I can easily be like, I am feeling, and I say like some profound feelings. I'm feeling grief for the loss of potential in this opportunity.
Yeah.
And Gabby's like, what? She's like, whoa, that's deep.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And because you're talking it out.
Yeah.
Like while we're talking, like you're talking it out. And she'll say sentences like that. And I'm just like, damn, like that's probably it. Like, yep, you nailed it. Like, you know.
Yeah. And I feel like, I feel like that's for like, I've had like frustrations in my life. Oh, this is, if you're a Cancer, maybe you'll like, and I don't know if maybe you'll relate to this or whatever, but I've definitely felt like my emotions are like sacred, and that like, I feel like no one really gets them. And so like, again, going back to like the whole emo pop punk, no one gets me. No one really gets me.
I'm so misunderstood.
Yeah, no, seriously. And like, I have felt misunderstood, and not in like obviously as a teenager, like I was like knowing like that, you know.
Yeah.
As an adult now, I like I get it that like people just don't feel this depth of emotions, and so like
exactly.
I don't let it bother me anymore. But it's also like allowed me to say like, okay, these are my emotions, and I want to keep them sacred, and it's okay that I don't share them with people. And like almost to the like, sometimes I don't even want to share with them. Like I would much rather cry my emotions out by myself. I would much rather like deal with these harsh emotions by myself, because I know no one's gonna like
fully get it. Like
yeah.
you can explain it, and someone could be like, "Oh, I get it," but because you're so in tune with it, you'll be like, "No, but you don't get it. Like you don't feel it.
You just like don't get it." So, I mean, okay, like, is there something being about like a Virgo that you feel like you don't relate to? Like, is there anything that you're like
what people say Virgos are?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good question. I feel like I think this is just in general, like whenever I look up traits of Virgo or anybody, I'm like, that could kind of relate, you know what I mean? So obviously it's very like, you know, subjective, but I have heard that people are very like Virgos are very organized. Like they're very like particular on like the way that they put things and place things. And I'm just like, that really ain't me to a degree.
Yeah.
Like, I think like I have waves of like when I'm good mentally, like I'm like, okay, things are like, I'm clean. Like, you know, I'm very clean, you know, but in terms of like clutter, that's where I feel like I'm just like, if I'm not okay mentally, like I'm just like, throw it. I don't care. It's whatever. Like I'm overlooking that. But then like when I'm good mentally, I'm looking around like, okay, like things need to be like, there's a crumb right there. You know what I mean?
And like, why isn't it already in pristine condition?
Yeah. And not knowing that I was the one that was fucking making it that way. So, but like, I think that there's like a misconception that Virgos are, well, I mean, some could be, but I think that they are pristine and perfect and like, you know, organized all the time. And for me, like, that's just not the case. Like, don't look in the vehicle that I drive because that you can never tell I would be a Virgo.
That's true.
So that's something that I just like when people talk about it, like, you know, when you go through TikTok and they're like, Virgos be like, and I'm like, you know, like the whole itinerary thing, like that's another thing. Like, oh, Virgos are the ones that are, you know, your itinerary for a trip. And like, you got, you know, and I'm like, that's her, not me.
And I think that's because of our rising signs.
Yeah.
Like my rising is Virgo. So I'm like, it all needs to get done. I'm going to do it. And like, I think you're right. It's Pisces, which is a little bit more like, la, la, la. So I think
I'm like, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
I feel like for me, things that they say about Cancer that I don't really, it's like we're crybabies. I cry, but like, am I a cry baby?
Right. Like that like, term.
Like, no, I'm not. Like half the time I'm like, buck up.
You're like, get your shit together. We gotta go.
Half the time I'm just like, it ain't that deep. But then I'm over here like, it's really actually deep. I think I get a little like, because I have that Virgo and that Capricorn, like that earth in me, like you're
like, let's get down to earth here.
Like let's be so fucking for real right now. Like be so fucking for real right now. So I think like that's where I come, but like the whole crybaby thing. I think as a child, I remember crying a lot. Being very. I think as a child.
Well, because like that's like your first instinct to be like, I'm not sure what's happening, how I'm feeling. Like I'm going to cry because I need to get it out somehow. You know.
So I think as a kid, and I think as in like, dude, and I remember standing like right at that counter over there in our kitchen, and like dad telling us like, he would say to me like, Mija, like you have to get a thicker skin. Like you can't just be crying over every little thing. And I was like, okay, like that's
I guess that helps.
Seriously, I was like, I guess you're kind of right. Like, so I remember as a kid being like very, very crybaby. But now as I've gotten older, like I don't feel like I have this like, oh, I just cry at the drop of a hat. Like I have to be. But again, going back to like now that I like that having like that sacred like feeling of my emotions. Like I'll cry when I feel like I can freely express it without anyone being like attentive to me. Like I don't need that attentiveness. I'm just like, let me be an emotion. Seriously, a wave and waves of emotions. Like just let me be.
And I definitely resonate with that too, because, and I don't know if it's because like I look at emotions analytically too, but like I feel like I don't want to cry because that would mean that I'm not like in control. You know what I mean? And so I feel like sometimes I like hold it back until I'm like in a safe spot or like with obviously someone safe because then I'm just like, okay, like you get to see me like this. Right. So I think that's like maybe a little bit of like control. I don't know. Do Virgos get that? Like sometimes I don't know exactly all the traits.
I don't know. If you're a Virgo, let us know.
Let
us know if you relate to any of this.
Yes, please. Any engagement.
They're like, actually, you guys make no sense. You guys are actually
this is totally
that's actually mental. You have actually
we're calling the police right now.
Like, actually you should go see therapy and not read a fucking horoscope. That actually sounds like you have fucking codependency issues. Go to a meeting. Please. I'm like, oopsie, my bad. Okay.
Oops. We're just trying to be funny here. We're just trying to be relatable.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's actually mental health. Go see a doctor.
Yeah, no, but I think that, I don't know, I would assume that this would resonate with some people because, like, you know, I feel like it's, I don't know, we have very similar, when we've talked about this to other people, I think it's been received very well. Mm-hmm. So, you know, it's just like a great conversation to have. Is there anything else that you like or don't like about, like,
Virgo or like, or like ourselves?
Yeah. Which one do you like about yourself?
Which one unpack that, please?
Yeah. I have one.
Okay.
I think that, and I think it's similar for both of us because we're sisters, but I'm not sure why, but like Laura always equates like the Cancer to like having a hard shell. And like that hard shell, like kind of like not really being able to penetrate that. So I feel like sometimes I get a little annoyed with that when there's like an opportunity to like be like vulnerable and like especially with people what we don't know. Like when we go to Disneyland and I'm just like,
like my socialness.
Yeah. Because she can be very social, like, when she turns it on.
I'm on a gummy.
Yeah. Nope. She's had a shot or two.
Yeah.
But then, like, sometimes she's just like, no, I don't want to. And I think that's what it is.
Like my shell. Like I want to be in my shell. Yeah, you're just like,
I feel like, I don't feel like talking to anybody right now. Like, leave me alone. Like, I don't want to do that. And then I'm just like, well, that could be really fun right now. Like, we should do that. And you're like, no. Like, so that's kind of,
I don't want.
Yeah, and I'm just kind of like,
want to do that.
That's kind of annoying.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's really interesting, like my social battery and like how it fluctuates. So I'm like, you know, I don't know.
Which I get too, because I'm not like I'm not a social butterfly. Very much. I think it's
really interesting that you say that because, like, usually when we like, I'm usually around people that I like, I'm so comfortable with. Like, I'm nuts.
Yeah,
like
that's a great way of putting it. Yes, like she goes off the rails, and like if you
like song, dance, like comedy tour,
like we've been in this very living room with both of her friends and my friends, and like she will be like. Yeah, song and dance, like spotlight and everything. And I'm more of like, I'm going to hang back and just like watch all of this go down. And like, that's fun for me.
And you will never, maybe not never, that's like so, you know, finite, but like you hardly take on that, song and dance.
Yeah, like unless someone's just like, hey, Gabby, why don't you get in on that? Then I'm like, okay. I will hardly be like, oh, and then me too, like, you know,
fucking vaudeville.
I will really pretty much never do that. But then there are certain situations where I'm just like I guess trying to get you to that point when you don't want to be there, and it's not like I'm trying to get you to it, but I'm just like, hey, like where's that girl?
Yeah. Where is she?
I'm like, she could be really useful right now, like it could be fun, and you're just like, nah, I don't want to, and I'm like, all right,
she's resting. She's idle right now. I think that's I don't really know where that comes from. I think, okay, so as a Cancerian, or like I feel like building community, building family has always been like, you know, big for me. And our like biological family is small. So I've really felt like the friends that I've made are my family. And so I felt like every time they're welcomed into our home or we're hosting, like I want it to be like warm. And so I think that's when like, I'm like, oh, you know what's so fun is like when we like go off the rails, like we laugh at dumb shit. Like that's, and I think like it's harder for me to do that with people that aren't in my family, so to speak, because I'm like, who are you? Like, what do you like,
and you have asked those questions before about like people that we have met like just met. You're just like, how do we like? What are they into?
How are they like? How are they adding to this? And I've always questioned like, what are they adding, and not in like, what can I gain from them?
No, it's never like that. It's honestly very good questions, because sometimes I don't see that, because perhaps my Virgo, like I'm such a completist. And I'm just like, we said we were going to get all the way to the finish line. And to do that means we have to do this, this, and this. And like along the way, I'm just like, hey, we said we were going to do that. And you're very much like, wait, but like you're questioning and not in a way of like how you said, like, what would these people or somebody or this or that, what
would it gain?
Yeah.
But more like
what would this add? Like, is this really, along the way, is this really something that we need or we want? Like, let's let's pause and think about it. And I'm always just like, oh, okay.
So question, and I don't know if I can answer this very easily, but like, is there a sign that you know of that you feel like you have not been able to like vibe with at all? I was like, I'll say it right now. Loud and proud. Leos.
Gotcha.
Leos have just been so hard for me to connect with. Like, and it makes sense. They're kind of, they're self-centered. I'm not saying that y'all are bad if you're a Leo. Like, I'm not saying, but I have found some Leos have been harder for me to connect with because another thing that I relate to is like considering of other people. Like, I'm very like, oh, but like, what if they don't like, right. What if they don't want to be that way? Or like, and so I found that like some Leos kind of don't really have that like thought process. They're kind of like, oh, well, like, it doesn't affect me, so like it shouldn't affect them. And like not trying to be like in a mean way or like, yeah, maybe self-centered isn't the best, but I do feel like I've had like some like uncomfortable situations where, or like every time I find out someone's a Leo, I'm like, okay, like I know I have to take a step back from like my emotions and just kind of say like, hey, if that's what you want to do, then that's what you want to do. Yeah. And kind of like leave it on their plate rather than like, oh, hey, like, let's, I can open that conversation about like, hey, like, so I feel like for me, like, they've been the hardest. I'm not saying y'all are bad. If there's any Leos out there, I'm not saying you're bad. I'm just saying that there has been some
situations
where I like had a hard
and it's
time
very
connecting.
Individual too, right? Like it's very based on the individual. Like it's not an overarching, this particular sign is all like that. Yeah. But like there are like two come to mind, honestly. And like it's weird because mom is one. Like,
oh my,
Scorpios.
Our poor mother, our Scorpio.
Yeah,
our
Scorpios.
Poor
like
mother.
I just feel like because maybe we are so similar in ways that it just really grinds my gears. Yeah. That there's like, and I've began to realize like that we are similar and that's why we do butt heads. Yeah. But for right now, that's one of the things that come to mind is just like, and then on that note, I've actually met other Virgos that I'm just like, skirt, like, I'm not sure about
girl Virgos or men? Okay.
Yes.
Because that's some people say that's like that's a difference. Yeah. People say that too. Yeah.
And I don't really like talk to men like that in my life. So I don't know a lot of male Virgos. So women Virgos, there have been a couple that I've really liked that have been like, hell yeah, bitch, like you down, like we're ride or die, like I get you. Yeah. But then there also have been other Virgos where I'm just like, they kind of off. And I'm like looking like that. And then when I find out that they are a Virgo, I'm just like, So it's very like, okay, Yeah. And then I was just going to leave it at that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need to.
We don't need to go into that.
I rarely like will like form friendships with them naturally just because I feel like we don't. I mean, that's just who I am. I just like, I'm not going to, if I already have a couple of,
question marks, you're not going to,
you're not
going to confirm that. You're like, okay, like I've seen what I can see. Like, bye.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah. And then, just Taurus men.
See, everyone says that, and I disagree. I disagree only because one of my really good friends is a Taurus man, and like, he and I were like,
I'm glad.
Two peas in a pod. We were like, goof. But see, I don't know. It just, for me, I haven't had any bad experiences.
Yeah, I've had a couple where I'm just like, and then I found out after the fact and I was just like, oh my God. So yeah, I have, but
that's just like an experience. Your personal experience.
And I think, again, going back to like, it's all like individual, all of this is like, just made up, honestly.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows if this is real?
But I feel like, it's been around for centuries for a reason.
Yeah, like there has to be some truth.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's kind of a couple of the signs that I feel like are historically in my story been a little bit like
her story.
Shoot.
Yeah. So, okay, I think I'm going to we'll kind of like wrap it up.
Yeah.
But the thing that has been like on my mind, like in terms of like family planning, I have considered planning around. I have considered planning around like what would be like most compatible for me and my partner. Oh my god! Because could you imagine if I had a child who like was totally opposite of me? Like that would, I think I'd crumble. Like I think I would crumble. Yeah. So I have considered that. Like, you know, whether this is true or not true, there's some truth to it or whatever you believe. Like I have considered that. I'm like, like maybe I should.
Like that you would like plan accordingly so that way if you conceived at a certain point, they would be born around a certain area. Or try to.
Yeah. Assuming everything went well. And blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. That's interesting. I have heard people, you know, try to do that. And one of my friends, you know, just said like, oh yeah, like, you know, they're trying to have a baby. Mm-hmm. And she was just like, you know, if we do it then we'll have, you know, this baby and it'll be I forgot what she said. I think like an Aries or something.
Gemini?
Yes, a Gemini. And I was just like, oh wow, like I don't know much about Geminis. I really don't. But when she said that, I was just like, oh wow, like that's something to consider too. So yeah.
I know. And like my friend,
what would be? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was like my friend, her and her husband just had a baby and it was a Cancer. And I literally was like, oh, thank God, she's going to soften you both out.
Yeah.
Because like, I was like, y'all need to chill.
Yeah.
You know, so I think there's some like thought behind it. I mean, again, like.
What, like knowing me, you knowing me, what sign do you think would be hard for me?
Hard?
Yeah.
I think, well, you said, like, I was going to say like a Scorpio, or I would think like, I would think a Scorpio and maybe I think that would be the hardest for you. I'm trying to think like I think a Taurus would be fine because they're chill. I think
another Aquarius.
I think I was gonna say another Aquarius. Like I think that would be hard.
Okay, on top of all of this, both of our partners are Aquarius.
Can you fucking believe?
So which is a whole nother situation.
I know. Like, and like everyone is so shocked when I'm like a Cancer and Aquarius. Like everyone says like you're doomed. Compatibility level 2%. Yeah. Like you're never gonna. Yeah, I looked it up
when we first started. Like me and my partner when we first started, I looked it up and it was just like abysmal. Yeah. Like it was like the lowest rated. I remember reading it in bed because like we were like, you know,
just
like,
clicking the phone off.
Yeah, I was just like. And like I was like falling through a hole.
Yeah,
I was like,
there's no hope for us. We're never gonna make it.
Yeah. And then I was like, what the hell? But it's working.
Yeah.
Like, it's not.
I mean, I definitely like
it, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't like have.
There are times where I want to body slam my Aquarius boyfriend because he just like. The analytical of like, well, that's not what I said.
Yeah.
I'm like, but that's how it made me feel.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's some road bumps, but it's a whole thing.
Yeah.
So I think a Scorpio or another Aquarius.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cause I just think that like if his Aquarius and the baby's Aquarius like together, like it would like cancel me out. And I was just like,
someone needs to think I'm right.
Yeah, someone needs to see the clear path here because, you know, in addition to like, that's just a whole nother situation. So, but yeah, maybe. But
I also think like we can just touch on this very quickly. Our like we said, our mom is a Scorpio and our dad was a Capricorn.
Yeah.
So I think we had a lot of like.
Oh yeah, I heard this on TikTok. They were talking about like their parents' signs and how they parented them. And I was like, that's a really great. That's another fucking episode. Yeah, that's another episode. But like, I don't know. It's just like an interesting take on how you as a sign were being raised by a particular sign. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, and like, I can definitely see because dad was a Capricorn and mom was a Scorpio.
Dad with his Capricorn, he was very, like, he would always tell me, like, you gotta, hey, like, develop a thick skin.
Yeah.
Like, it's a dog-eat-dog world out there.
He was very just, like, very grounded all the time. Like, hey, like, get your shit together, like get your head out of the clouds type of thing.
Don't
like,
dilly-dally.
Yeah, don't dilly-dally was his favorite saying.
Yeah, dude, me and Gabby talk about dilly-dalliers or whatever. Like, we were dilly-dallying all the freaking time. And
to the 10th degree,
Dad would
he hated it.
Dad would be waiting for us in the living room and be like, because we were dilly-dallying.
Yeah.
So he said, don't dilly-dally.
Yeah, he was very, like, that all the time. Like, just a real realist.
Yeah.
And, like, I think it, like, balanced us out. Like, I think there was a yin and yang thing to it.
And I will say, like, you know, like, Mom being a Scorpio, like, I definitely do think she had times where she felt for us. Like, she would see us going through heartache, whether that was, like, romance, career, school, friendship, like, going through grief. And Mom has always been able to be like, that's really hard, Mija. Yeah. Like, you're going through some tough stuff right now.
That's a good point. Yeah. And she's continuously like that to this day. Like, through everything, she's always just like, well, like, how can I help you? Yeah. And, you know, really wanting to, like, be there with us, you know, and not shy away from it. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Just be like, that sounds, so I'm just trying to, Mom, if you're watching this, you're trying to recover. You're great. You're doing great, Mom. You're not a horrible mom. Please don't.
You're like, that was just teenage me being a fucking little shit.
Remember, Mom, like, emo? Like, remember that? Okay, yeah. So I think we can wrap it up here.
Yeah, that was fun.
I like this topic. This is a good topic.
Yeah. Let us know if, you know, anything resonates with you, if you want to chat about anything at all.
Or if everything we said was a bunch of BS and you said you guys
don't know shit.
Read a book.
It's okay.
Touch grass and read a book. So, okay, that's going to end it here, folks, with your favorite Virgo and Cancer. Well, one of your favorite. Drew and Dason are probably your favorite. Yeah. We can be your second favorite Virgo and Cancer duo. But that's it. So
thanks for being here. Yeah, thanks for watching. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.